Good morning, students. Our today's topic is trial balance. Before this, we had been studying ledger accounts, but as you might have seen, that ledgers are so many. That means we have prepared so many accounts, some permanent, some temporary. So at the end, if someone asks us any balance, so we'll have to reach all the ledger accounts. So, is there any particular way by which, looking at only one point, we can consider all the accounts? Yes, there is a term, and this term is called as trial balance. So, basically, a trial balance is a statement that is showing balances of total debits and total credits of all the ledger accounts. That means the ledger accounts that we have posted will transfer them to a account to a statement which will be considered as trial balance, and this is prepared with a view to verify arithmetical accuracy. Now, what is the meaning of arithmetical accuracy? As we all are human beings, and I do consider that human beings do make mistakes. So, while preparing journals, we might have made some mistakes, or even though we have prepared journals correctly, but we could have done some posting errors at the time of preparation of ledger. So, if we have performed such errors, then these are noticed through trial balance, and that is why trial balance is a medium of checking the arithmetical accuracy of the ledger accounts. This statement is normally prepared at the end of the accounting year, that is 31st of March. But depending upon the situation, depending upon organizational criteria, an organization may prepare it monthly, quarterly, half yearly, or annually, depending upon the needs and requirements of the organization. So, generally, it is prepared at the end of every year. But there are some organizations which do want to know the quarterly profits. That is the profit which is earned by an organization in one quarter or in a half yearly. So they'll be preparing it quarterly, half yearly, or sometimes even on monthly basis. So that is what all trial balance is all about, that it's a statement showing balances of total debits and credits with arithmetical accuracy. That means generally trial balance is prepared with all debit and credit balances, and always remember that both debit and credit, since we have given two effects to each, and that is why it should always tally. That means debit should always be equal to credit, and then only we can say that our trial balance is correct. But students, do remember that even if the debit and credit total of trial balance is same, we cannot say that we have made it correctly. Yes, it can be considered that we have prepared it correctly, but it is not a guarantee that since trial balance is tallying, so all the entries are correct. Because sometimes we have made a kind of mistake which would have been made at both the sides, and hence our trial balance could be tallied, but it does not mean that the trial balance is correct. But basically, to check our accounts, this is the best way to check whether we have passed entries correctly, whether we have posted entries correctly. That means our ledger trial balance should be tallying. Now, what are the objectives of preparing this trial balance? So, this trial balance is prepared to fulfill the following objectives. The first point, as we have discussed in the meaning also, to find out arithmetical accuracy. That means first of all we want to find anything. If I'm doing, I want to find the accuracy level that I'm performing. So it is the best way to check, to measure my accuracy. So any organization prepares a trial balance to check the arithmetical accuracy. That means whether the things are recorded in a correct manner, whether debit and credit total is tallying. So this is the general concept. So whether debits and credits are equal, whether we have passed entries correctly. So first of all, it is prepared to check arithmetical accuracy. The second point of importance is it helps in locating errors. If we have committed such mistakes, if we have committed some mistakes in case of ledgers, so while preparing trial balance, it will definitely not be tallying. So we can locate the errors. That means if we are given with the answer also, for example, and we know that the total of debit and credit should be 1,45,000. If somehow debit is greater than this amount and credit is lower than this amount, then we definitely will get to know that we have posted some amount of credit into debit. So by this way, trial balance can help us to locate our errors. Leave about the answer, even if we talk about organization's point of view. If debit and credit balance does not tally, that means since we have to double entry accounting system, so it should generally get tally. But if it is not tallying, that means we have made some mistakes and they can be located by using this trial balance. The third point is to help in preparation of the financial statement. Now, what is this financial statement all about? So, every organization is started with the motive of earning profit. This profit brings us stability, and that is why at the end of the year we prepare an account called profit and loss account, to ascertain the amount of profit or loss that an organization is having. So to check that profit and loss, we'll have to prepare this profit and loss account. We also have discussed that every organization brings some amount into business, that is liability, and this liability is used to purchase assets. Now these assets and liabilities are recorded in a statement called as balance sheet. So basically, at the end of the year, we prepare profit and loss account to ascertain the profit or loss incurred by an organization. We also prepare statement of assets and liabilities, that is our balance sheet. So trial balance help us to prepare this financial statement. That means when we'll move further towards this chapter, you'll get to see that these statements are prepared with the help of trial balance. So ultimately, to reach these statements, that is very important documents of an organization, profit and loss account and balance sheet, we require this statement which is called as trial balance. Now there are three methods of preparing trial balance. These three methods are typically total method, balance method and total cum balance method. Let's see what these all are about. Now this total method. For example, if I talk about your cash account. So all the receipts were recorded on debit side as debit what comes in, and all the payments were recorded on credit side. So we can see that while making ledgers, what we had done was we have written the highest total on both the sides. Since I have told you that all the assets will always be having debit balance, that means debit side was greater. But we have written this total only here also. Now what we are supposed to do here is, we'll write this debit ka total to debit side, and this credit ka total, actually whatever the credit total was there, we'll write debit total on debit side and credit total on credit side. So let's take an example. For example, in this cash account, we had debit side total 5 lakh and credit side total 3 lakh. So the first method we have is total method. That means when we'll prepare trial balance, we'll show cash debit 5 lakh and credit 3 lakh. This is the simple way of preparing this trial balance. The second method is balance method. Now students, do remember that there is huge difference, there is big difference between total method and balance method. This method was considered as total method, where we have written debit total at the debit side and credit total at the credit side. But what about balance method? If you see here, you have receipts of 5 lakh and you have payments of rupees 3 lakh. So if I ask you the balance of cash, you'll tell me 2 lakh. You'll tell me, ma'am, it's 2 lakh. Why it is so? Because you have received rupees 5 lakh, and from that 5 lakh, you have paid rupees 3 lakh. So the balance that you are left with is 2 lakh. So this is your balance. And in this balance method, what we have to do is, we'll simply have to show cash at the debit side 2 lakh. Now why do we have written it on debit side? Because the debit total was higher. So always remember, whichever total is higher, in trial balance the amount will appear on that side only. Or we can say that in other method, if balance is adjusted towards credit side, write it on debit side of trial balance, and vice versa. So this was the second method. Now what about third method? The third method says total cum balance method. That means here we'll prepare total columns, that is this: debit, credit, then debit and credit. Here we'll write totals as we have written in the first case. Here we'll write balances as we have done in the second case. So we'll write total method also and we'll write balance method also. Now if ask me that, ma'am, which method is correct? So I'll say that all the three methods are correct. But if you ask me that which method is more appropriate, so I'll go for this one. Reason being, I had 2 lakh rupees when I started business. Then I received rupees 10 lakh from Swati. I received rupees 5 lakh from someone else. I paid rupees 4 lakh to a student of mine. At the end of the day, you are not interested in my story. What you are interested in is knowing the actual balance that I am having right now. So that is why this is the most appropriate method, because nowadays, if I talk about your generation is not so interested in knowing stories. Your generation is just interested in finding results. Or leave about your generation. If I talk about business, so businessman is a busy person. The one who is dealing with that business is also a busy person. So if auditor comes, if that managing director comes, or someone else comes from outside who wants to know the position of your business, will just check your balances of assets and liabilities, of expenses and incomes, and will find the position of your business. And that is why, in case of trial balance, the most appropriate method is balance method. Okay, moving towards the format of trial balance, that how do we prepare this trial balance. So this is prepared this way. That is account title, LF, debit balance and credit balance. So whatever will have debit balance will be written against debit side. Whatever will have credit balance will be written against credit balance. And at the end, you will have to check that your debit and credit gets tally. That means both the sides are equal. And then only you can say that your trial balance is correct, as we already have discussed. So here you can see certain items. Capital is a liability, will always have a credit balance, and that is why it should be recorded at credit. Land and building, asset should have a debit balance. Plant and machinery, asset should have a debit balance. If we talk about carriage inward, it's an expense. It should be on debit side because it's an expense. Carriage outward, it is also an expense, so it should also be at debit side. Commission received is an income, so it should be at credit side. So this way we'll have to prepare this trial balance. So here we'll wind for the today's topic. Hope you have understood. Thank you. Stay home, stay safe.